as is economist Don Boudreau. He's from George Mason University. He says we should be glad China is doing well. Stephen, what's the threat?
I think the threat, John, is the fact that resources are not infinitely abundant. Resources are basically scarce. And we live in a world in which all resources are interdependent. So all you need is one very, very scarce resource, and everything else becomes scarce. We focus a lot on oil, and indeed, it is becoming scarce. Copper is becoming scarce. Goldman Sachs the other day...
Wait a sec. The New York Times said in 1973, experts say the world will have virtually run out of oil by the year 2000. People are always saying things are scarce, and then with human ingenuity, we find new stuff.
They were wrong. But right now, let's say circa 2011, copper is around $3.50 a pound. That's compared to maybe $60, $90, $1 a pound in the 1990s. So what? The point is they're going to go up a lot more. These threats that you heard about in 1973, well, that was when the world's population may have been 1 or 2 billion. I don't know what it was. Now it's 7 billion. China is growing fast. What they have recognized, and let me just quote from Goldman Sachs the other day. Forget about me, who, Goldman Sachs, pretty credible brokerage firm. They're not trying...
Well,
sometimes, but they're not trying to overly excite people. Here was the words that they used in describing copper. They said in 3 years, copper could be unimaginably, that's their word, high. And you know what? It makes all the sense in the world, John, because if you look at grades of copper, grades of zinc, grades of virtually any metal, they're going down.
Your response?
Well, these predictions have been coming down the pike for 200 years. It's not going to happen. When economies grow, people become more creative, supplies grow. It's happened in the past. No reason to think it won't happen in the future. China is full of a lot of creative people. If that economy grows and becomes wealthy, as it's doing because they're adopting, or to the extent that they adopt free market capitalism, which they're moving toward, they will find ways to create new resources, to get more out of existing resources. I have no doubt that resource supplies, the secular trend will be upward over the next decades, few decades, centuries.
Well, I think you're betting on a technology god.
No.
I mean,
it's happened in the past.
It may have happened in the past.
God,
yes.
No, I'm betting on human ingenuity.
No, you're betting that there'll become some... Well, where has it been over the last 12 years? And you're saying that there's growth? Where's the growth in the U.S. economy when we have 9.1% unemployment?
This is a recession.
No, it's not. This is not a recession. Give me any other case in history other than the Depression when median incomes have gone from down 10 or 12%. That's for the population. For those in the bottom 90%, 15%. Where are you? You have a nice tenured job.
Well, let him answer.
We're in the biggest recession since the Great Depression. The downturn in the economy has nothing to do with resource scarcity.
Of course it has everything to do with resource scarcity.
I've never heard that.
I'll tell you that because you go and spend $150 a week filling up your car.
Look,
you try and put corn and food on your table when you've got record prices for corn.
Well, let's get rid of the ethanol subsidy.
Oh, I'm not even talking about ethanol. Food in general.
You mentioned corn.
Well, you talk about food in general. Nearly all-time highs.
I'll make you a bet. You can pick 5 commodities. I'll make you a bet that the inflation-adjusted price of the market basket of those 5 commodities will fall over the next 10 years. I'll make you a $5,000 bet.
Yeah, of course I'll make you a bet. I mean, the only way they won't...
Well, we want to bet? We have this bet here?
Yeah, but wait a second. If we don't have a worldwide depression, you can pick any commodity you want.
Well, you pick 5 commodities.
Copper, oil, corn, I don't know, zinc,
I should add
iron ore.
Economists made this bet years ago.
And they lost.
No, we won.
They won.
No, the
commodities went down in price.
People like me lost.
Yes.
But people like me...
And you continue to lose if you believe that.
Because China, with 1.5 billion people, more than the world had when the previous bet was made...
What do you want to do about it? You want to go over there and bomb them?
No. I'll tell you what I want to do about it. I don't want to let it happen. I think this is the greatest country on the face of the earth. I'll tell you how you stop it. You create policies that create growth, real growth in this country.
Which are
China, over the next 5 years, plans to spend about $2.5 to $3 trillion with a T dollars on new energies. They have taken over the solar industry.
Like Solyndra?
Yeah. No. They're the reason Solindra's busted. They are undercutting us in every which way.
But take a look at this chart here. You say it's their planning.
Yeah.
And I look at this is this is economic growth in China. For most of the time, hardly any growth. They had all this planning. 100% of the economy was planned. Only when they recognized private property and individual initiative did the Chinese economy boom.
Okay,
it's not planning.
John,
it's freedom that helped them boom.
Yes, I agree. It is freedom did help them boom. I absolutely agree. But if you look at the chart from a slightly different scale, you will find that they were growing prior to 1990, not nearly as fast. So no argument there.
But planning doesn't work. They used to say Japan
no, I don't
central
think planning
is...
works either. And I don't want to live like a Chinese, like the Chinese. I don't like them. That's why I say war. I love America. And
Don,
I want
give you the
America
last
to
word.
succeed.
We're about out of time.
Look, the world's population has grown substantially over the past 200 years. What's happened to the course of resource prices over those 200 years? They've fallen. They will continue to fall as economies like China becomes more productive.
Okay, let me...
Thank you, Don Boudreau, Stephen Lieb. Coming up, will they soon pass a law against doing what this kid did? Dress up like me? That and other absurdities next. When someone says I should fear China, I just don't get it. I'd be scared if I lived there or wanted to do business there. The communist dictatorship is repulsive. I think about Tiananmen Square and that lone student. He was a hero for standing up for freedom. And China does have a powerful military. But we are much more powerful. We spend 6 times what they spend. They are a threat to Taiwan and Japan, but they're not yet close to being a threat to the United States. Today, some people say we should fear China's economic power. And their economy is growing fast, faster than ours. But why fear that? Economic competition is a good thing. It's not like war. War is win or lose, but economic competition is win-win. If they invent superior solar panels, say, we benefit. If they discover a cheaper way to make fresh water from salt water, that's good for the whole world. If their economy grows bigger than ours, that's okay. It just means there are more rich people that we can sell stuff to. That makes Americans richer. And a growing China won't steal America's jobs. Well, they might take away some if they can make iPhones and plastic toys more cheaply. But that's okay, too, because if those things are cheaper, that allows us to create other jobs by focusing on what we're good at making, coming up with ideas for iPhones and software and Facebook, and inventing life-saving drugs and movies and growing wheat. The money we save buying Chinese solar panels lets us do more of that. Unless, of course, our government screws it up. And our politicians do have a history of doing that by passing crippling regulations, crippling businesses with a million rules. This 80,000 pages is just what the feds added last year. Now, this is just death by 1,000 cuts. Every page is a list of do's and don'ts that every business must follow or be in big trouble. These rules will help China surpass us. Let's get rid of them. Earlier tonight, I showed you how hard it was to get legal permission to open my simple business. It took a week of lawyering. And yet I opened this little stand in Delaware, the state where it's supposedly the easiest to start a business. By contrast, in Hong Kong, I once got permission to open a business in 1 day.
Thank you, sir.
That's all it took. Communist China, even they recognize that too many rules stifle economic growth. They've started special economic zones where they have more free trade, less planning, less bureaucracy, and those regions have stunning growth. That's what we need more of in this country, more freedom from these stupid regulations. And again, these are just the federal rules. Local governments add more. Monday was Halloween. That brings out the local rule makers. In Walnut, California, it's illegal to wear a mask on Halloween without permission from the sheriff. Soon they'll pass laws against what this Texas boy did. He went trick-or-treating dressed as me. Okay, he's not illegal yet, but states do keep passing more rules. Last month, Illinois joined 14 other states in banning these cigarette lighters that look like other things, like the Statue of Liberty or this fire extinguisher. They're not allowed to have entertaining features. As always, there's a justification. Kids might start a fire. We better ban these. Never mind that the guy who designed this and the people who made the mold and made the materials and packed them and invested in them and marketing and so on are now all out of a job. And the companies now hire lawyers instead of inventors. Are we too stupid to decide whether or not we can have lighters that look like this in our homes? One last example. Louisiana just made it illegal for resale stores like thrift shops to pay cash for used goods. Now they have to write a check. That'll supposedly make it easier for the cops to track stolen goods and make it easier for government to collect taxes. But checks cost money, and not everyone has a bank account. And check cashing services charge hefty fees. But can't get cash for your old furniture in Louisiana anymore. Big government doesn't like it. It's one more reason why we here at the Stossel Show reject big government. And we hope you do too. That's our show. Thanks for watching. Good night.